Gute und herzlich willkommen zu einem neuen kleinen Let's Play. Ja, The Beginner's Guide in diesem Fall. Wir spielen das natürlich wieder blind, also ich habe das Spiel noch nie vorher gespielt. Ich habe nur gehört, es soll ganz lustig sein. Und wir starten. Habe ich getan. Dankeschön.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote the Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveyWreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Okay. Nun gut, dann schauen wir uns das mal an. Wow. Achtung, Flüstermaschine aktiv. Sofort.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Okay, also ich kann jetzt hier durchlaufen und werde ich jetzt angegriffen? Es ruckelt ganz schön. Siehst du, da bin ich aber am Rechner.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately, we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin shooting at
Ah, okay.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Ja, stimmt. Das ist cool gemacht. Also, ich weiß nicht, was dahinter steckt, ob das wirklich wahr ist, aber man sieht tatsächlich, wie halt Spiele gemacht werden. Ne? Das hier sind halt Bilddateien, die genommen wurden und halt da zu Ende sind einfach. Und das wird halt nicht beachtet. Das sind irgendwelche Löcher in der Wand. Okay, kann ich hier was machen? Nein.
Apparently, this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Okay, danke schön. Ja, aber warum hat das ein Labyrinth? Ja,
Okay,
das ist interessant.
this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Das ist eine interessante Frage. Ich sehe es aus dem Aspekt, dass ich komplett ohne Story, ich weiß überhaupt nicht, warum ich jemanden retten sollte. Eine Computerstimme sagt mir, mach das. Beziehungsweise eine Stimme aus dem Off.
This is not a branching point, unfortunately. The only option is to step into the beam.
Tja, dann mache ich das wohl jetzt. Tot.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Und schon sind wir in einem ähnlichen Spiel wie Stanley Parable. Indem ich das getan habe, sagt er, es gibt einen Bug. Und jetzt, wenn ich da reinlaufe, sterbe ich und spawne neu, nicht wahr? Nein, ich fliege hoch. Lustig. Jetzt sehe ich das ganze Level.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it, like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
Die Vergangenheit lag hinter dir. Das erinnert mich unheimlich an diesen Bildschirmschoner von Windows damals. Ich weiß nicht, ob den irgendjemand noch kennt.
So try walking backwards.
Hab ich. Ach so, einfach rückwärts gehen.
Yep, in this game you can only walk backwards.
Nice. Die Vergangenheit lag hinter dir. Man kann nur rückwärts gehen. Das ist cool. Und gleichzeitig komisch, weil man automatisch wieder vorwärts gehen möchte. Oh.
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Coda is trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
Cool. Doch die Zukunft war noch nicht zu sehen. Warum ändert sich die Zukunft ständig? Jetzt kommt wahrscheinlich die nächste Wand. Ha, cool. Wenn sie stehen bleibt und sich umsieht, wird es klarer. Okay. Aber wenn die Zukunft immer hinter dir liegt... Wie soll sie dann die Kraft finden, sich ihr zu stellen?
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that.
Cool.
Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Oh nein. Bitte nicht sowas wie Slender. Okay, hier ist die Map zu Ende. Ich muss also geradeaus gehen. Du betrittst nun... Ja. Oh, ich hasse so Spiele.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting. Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games.
Was zum...
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
Also ich gehe davon aus, dass ich da hoch soll. Und auch lustig, dass Springen immer mit einprogrammiert wurde.
I know it's tempting, but there's actually nothing over here. Sorry.
Ja, ich hab's versucht. Es wird immer langsamer.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Okay, also ich kann so nicht weitergehen. Ich versuch's mal, ein bisschen bewege ich mich ja. Ich habe keine Füße. Okay, aber ich käme da hoch, so, in der Geschwindigkeit. Ich habe Stanley Parable schon mal gespielt. Und da ist es nämlich so, wenn man sich widersetzt gegenüber dem Erzähler, dass halt auch lustige Sachen passieren. Vielleicht passiert ja jetzt auch was, wenn ich einfach weitergehe. Also ich komme vorwärts. Ziemlich langsam. Ich wollte nur gerade gucken, ob es rückwärts genauso langsam geht. Vielleicht gibt es ja ein Achievement.
2000 Jahre später.
So, jetzt haben wir es gleich geschafft und es ist nichts passiert. Aber die Tür ist offen. Vielleicht kommt ja jetzt ein Jumpscare. Oder die Tür schließt sich, wenn ich oben bin. was auch immer. Was zum... Ich gehe immer noch so langsam. Okay. Sieht aus wie eine Wohnung. Ja, ich drücke jetzt mal Enter. Du bist eine Tür. Du beginnst in einem kleinen Raum, bis du merkst, dass du einfach durch die Wände gehen kannst.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games.
Mal wird zerstört, du erhältst eine Medaille.
Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
Schade, ich kann das nicht alles lesen. Auf die Fische, fertig, los. Ja dann. Und los. Ah, das Design ist ähnlich. Wie der Raum eben. Oh, und normale Geschwindigkeit ist ein Traum.
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.